Hello, everyone. It's Jerry DeRino Clark, ClubRhino.com, welcoming you to another issue of Power Tips, your regular dose of energy and power. And in this issue, we're going to share with you some information from a giant that we're standing on his shoulders. This is an individual whose story was absolutely compelling to me when I first heard it, because as you all know, in the land of network marketing, there's a lot of people to get in, a lot of people to get started, and a lot of people really do not go through the journey to the point to where they get to where they want to go. And this individual, he was one of those people. He got started in the business about 7 or so years ago. He went through a journey. It wasn't working. He was not getting what he wanted, but something happened. This was like a magical thing that just occurred after maybe 4 years of struggle. And all of a sudden, things start to go for him. And today, from 2.5 years ago, really, to today, the transformation is absolutely powerful. He was absolutely broke. I mean, he was living with his father 2.5 years ago, sleeping on a twin bed, and just didn't have any money. And today, money is not a problem. Generating multiple 6 figures every single month, multiple 7 figures per year. And you're going to get a chance to hear a little bit more about his story. I wanted to make sure that he shared this information on how he did this and some of the concepts that allow him to be able to pull it off. And so without any further ado, I want to introduce you to David Imonitie. David, welcome to the program.
Oh, I appreciate you, Jerry. Appreciate you having me on. Definitely excited to be on here and talking with you. And, after so many years of actually hearing some of your audios, it's a pleasure to actually be sitting with you right now.
Awesome. So, we want to know in regards to, this is pretty interesting when I first heard about your story and first heard about what you have done in the last just 2.5 years. Being able to go from broke to being able to create multiple 6 figures a month in the industry of network marketing. So give us a little bit about your journey. Tell us a little bit about this background and how things kind of got to the point to where they are now.
Well, man, it's been an incredible journey. I was, going back to, the very beginning. I was born at a very young age, and Mom told me to do all the things that I'm sure your mom and other moms tell us. Go to school and get your grades and graduate and all that good stuff. And I tried that. Went to started off in kindergarten. I was at the top of my class in kindergarten, and went on to first grade, all that good stuff. Graduated from high school. My mom always told me go to college. I was there for 4 years. And after 4 years, I graduated as a sophomore.
You graduated as a sophomore after 4 years?
As a sophomore. I had 32 credits after 4 years of schooling. So needless to say, I didn't go to class, but that wasn't my path. And got out of college and got introduced to this industry of network marketing at the age of 21 and didn't have any success. I was in that company for 2 years and struggled mightily for 2 years. But I learned a lot, met some good people. And got out of networking for about 6 months. I was actually coaching tennis with my dad. I was living with my dad at that time, and got reintroduced to the industry. The juices started flowing again. Got involved in another company and failed in that company. 2 years and 4 months in that company. But guess what? Learned some more, and I got a chance to meet a mentor of mine, Mr. Holton Buggs. I got a chance to meet him, and I met him back in 2007. And that was really where the magic really started to happen, because now I could actually have a clear picture of what could possibly happen with this industry of network marketing. And to look up what's happened 2.5 years ago, living with my father on a twin-sized bed, having $1,000 to my name 2.5 years ago, now to become a multi-millionaire here with this opportunity. It's just been incredible.
Now, one of the things that you just mentioned is that, when you first got into the industry, you were struggling and so forth. What was it about the industry that got you excited in the first place? What made you say, you know what, I'm going to do that. I really want to do that. And then as you were thinking about getting started in the industry, did you think it was going to be a lot easier than what it ended up being for those first 4 or 5 years?
Well, a couple of things, Jerry. Really, I really didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice but to make it work. But I love the concept. I love the concept of really being able to help people get what they want out of life. I love the concept of being able to show people that, hey, listen, it doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter your race, your creed, anything like that. You can actually get involved in something, started from scratch, and actually work your way all the way to the top. And, corporate America really doesn't allow you to do that. If you're going to get to the top, it's going to take you 20, 30 years. But I read in a book, my first year of network marketing, I read in that book, it said, if you survive the industry of network marketing 10 years, you'll be wealthy beyond your wildest imagination. I said, well, survive. I said, okay, well, that sounds like there's going to be a fight. So I said, okay, well, let me get ready for the fight. And for me, it took me 4.5 years to find that breakthrough. And once we found it, now it's all about helping other people understand that there is a process that they're going to have to go through and grow through that's going to allow them to get to where it is that they want to go. So we're excited about what's happened, but we're even more excited about what's about to take place.
Now, going back to that 4.5 years where you were going through a process, things weren't really happening for you. There's a lot of people listening who are in their process right now. Things are not happening for them right now. What allowed you to keep pressing forward? I mean, to stay in the game, to move forward, even though things weren't happening for you?
Well, a couple of things. One of the things that I always teach people right now is that you've got to begin with the end in mind. So I had a clear picture of what the end result already looked like. So it didn't matter all the things that I had to go through. I remember, driving from here from Houston to Baton Rouge, a 5-hour ride, and not even having a hotel room, having to sleep in my car after doing a meeting, after talking to a couple hundred people about that opportunity, them dropping me back off at the hotel and them saying bye to me at the lobby. And, as soon as they drove off, I would go back in my car and sleep in my car multiple times. But it was only because I had a clear picture of what the end result was going to look like. I was already here. In my mind, I already saw myself as a multimillionaire. I already saw myself with all the things that are happening today. I saw it back then. When you look at that word SAW, I saw it. Basically, you take that backwards, WAS. I was already there. I was already living that type of lifestyle in my mind. It was just waiting for the physical equivalent to actually take place.
That's very interesting. So how would you share with other people the way that they can actually see the future before it happens? I mean, was there a book that you read? Was there a process you went through? Or did you just say, you know what, I'm going to be successful, and here's what successful, meant to you? Or tell us a little bit about that.
Well, obviously, you got to be in the right environment. I was in the right environment. Even though I failed in those companies, I was around other people that were successful. People like Emmanuel Bernstein was one of my very first mentors. I got a chance to meet him. I was 21 years old, and at that time, he was earning a multiple 5-figure a month income. So I had a clear picture, once again, of really what it could look like, at the end result of it. And when you have the right environment, you have the right people around you, making sure that you're listening to the right information. I mean, your information, I grew up on your information, listening to people like Tony Robbins, listening to people like, like yourself and so many other leaders, Les Brown, listening to that information. One of the books very first book that I ever read was Think and Grow Rich, by Napoleon Hill, reading that book and understanding that thoughts are things. And I said, okay, well, if I want to change the things in my life, I must change the thoughts in my life. And I really started to study that, started to really listen a whole lot more, read a whole lot more. And I think all the information that I actually listened to is what allowed me to actually be here today.
And that's a common trend that I have heard from every leader that I've ever talked to in this industry is that, number one, they do see it in the very beginning before they even start. I like that, saw, I was it. I like that. That's really powerful. And the interesting thing is that you actually did something that Jim Rohn teaches. And he says that whenever things are not going well or you're not where you want to be, you can borrow from the vision of the future or borrow from the promise of the future, which will allow you to engage in the activities today.
Absolutely. So
when things weren't going well for you, but you saw this future that you saw, did that empower you? Is that something you actually used?
Absolutely. It's a formula that I actually came up with here. We talk about desire plus skills times faith equals success. You've got to have that burning desire. I believe that's really the beginning. That's the genesis of everything that we're going to talk about, and everything that you're going to do is going to be what is your burning desire? What's your magnificent obsession that you have? And then now you got to add the skills. So those 4.5 years of being in those companies, all I was doing was just adding the skills of knowing how to, interact with people, knowing how to give a presentation, knowing how to prospect, knowing how to do all the things that are necessary for you to become successful in this industry. So giving myself time, to really understand, because most people want to get in and they want to make $1 million the next day. Well, it doesn't work like that. You've got the desire to make $1 million. That's great. But now let's add the skills of a millionaire. Okay. And then times that by faith. Well, faith comes by hearing. So the more times that I heard it over and over and over again, kept saying it to myself, that auto suggestion, saying it to myself over and over and over again, repeating it, having it on index cards, having it on signs everywhere where I could actually see the end result. And then that led to the success that we've had today. But now you got to continue it, even after becoming a multimillionaire, even after a little bit of success. Maybe you start earning $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month. You better stay on that path of desire plus skills times faith equals the success that you're looking for.
Now, when it comes to the skill part, okay, I would assume that everyone who's listening to this information right now, they probably got the desire, or else they probably wouldn't be listening. But once again, you said that magnificent obsession. Speaking in the language of Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone, that's what they talk about. And so let's say that someone is really hungry. Let's Les Brown say they really want to make this happen in a big way, deep down inside. And so now it comes time for the skills. So let's say a person starts learning the skills that's going to be required, and some of the things they got to learn how to attract people to their reality. They learn how to convert. Once they attract these people to their reality, they want to learn how to retain people once they kind of get them started, and they want to learn how to develop leaders and all these different type of skills. So when you were actually engaging in the skills, did you set yourself up to where you were doing the skills but weren't producing the results, and you were questioning whether or not these skills work? Or tell us what you were thinking.
I never questioned. I never, ever doubted that it was going to work, because I could see that it worked. There was clear evidence around me that it was working. I just knew that it would work in time for me. And that's the key thing that everybody's got to understand, that it does work in time. But you've got to be persistent. You've got to be consistent with everything that you're doing, and understand that the end result is going to take place. It has no choice but to happen. But most people quit before it actually gets there. So persistence is really the seed for faith. If I know that it's going to happen and I believe it's going to happen, then I'll continue to go down that path. I'll continue to do whatever it is that I have to do, whatever it is I have to learn. But now the mentoring part of it too, having a coach, having somebody that you can actually call on, having somebody that you can actually watch. I learned something from Jeff Olson talking about 4 different types of knowledges. Learning knowledge, learn knowledge. So I'm going to learn it. Okay, then I've got activity knowledge. So now I've got to go do the activity. And that's really where most people fail.
Right.
They'll sit in the class, they'll learn it, they'll be excited, pumped up, ready to go. But now when it's time to go meet that person or go do a presentation, they say, no, I don't want to do that. No, you've got to fail forward. You've got to go and do the activity. And that's really where the knowledge is going to come in. But then now modeling knowledge. That's what happened for me when I met my coach and my mentor today, was that now I modeled him. And most times people hear me on a conference call. They say, man, you sound just like him. Or maybe they hear me speak and say, man, you sound just like him. And they think that's on accident. No, it was on purpose. Well, he has what it is that I want. But see, a lot of people don't have that because, humility, the humility factor. Humility is not a personality trait. It's just recognizing you don't have something. See, 2.5 years ago, I recognized I didn't have the Bentley. I recognized I didn't have the $1 million home. I recognized I didn't have millions of dollars in the bank. So I was humble enough to follow somebody that had it. Well, guess what? 2.5 years later, I got the Bentley.
Yeah, you picked me up in it.
There you go. I've got the $1 million home. I've got millions of dollars now put up. So that's the deal now, guys. You got to understand. And when you go into teaching knowledge, see, that's what we're talking today. This is teaching knowledge. Now, you learn more when you teach. But most people want to go from learn knowledge to teaching knowledge.
Right. I want to skip the activity knowledge and the modeling knowledge.
No, you got to go learn knowledge, activity knowledge, learn knowledge, activity knowledge. Find somebody that you can model so you can become worth modeling, and then you become the teacher. And that's where the big money comes in, Jerry.
And so that's very good. I mean, one of the things that you're talking about as far as, okay, so they got to learn knowledge, and a lot of people are willing to learn. They're listening to this information so they can learn something. They jump on a conference call so they can learn something. They may go to a training or, a seminar or whatever so they can learn something. But as you said, people kind of hold back when it comes to the activity knowledge, or they may start the activity, but they don't continue the activity to the point that's going to be required for them to really be able to set themselves up and be able to see some results. And so what can you say in regards to the people that start the activity knowledge? They really get started doing the activity, because there's a lot of people that do that, but they don't continue. So what would you say for people that start the activity, but they get distracted or they get disappointed, because maybe what they were doing just didn't seem to be working. I mean, what'd you say? Do you say revisit that vision or that,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think part of that is fear, fear of success, not even fear of failure, fear of success. Well, what if it works?
Wow.
A lot of people are afraid of that. A lot of people are afraid of that. And one of the things that most people have to understand is that you can only go where you can see. And, it's kind of like, you've been driving and you're driving in the fog. You know where you want to go. You've probably already been there. You've seen other people get there, but it's foggy. You really can't see yourself. So you got to slow down. You can't accelerate because there's a fog around you. But once the fog clears away, now you can accelerate and move even faster. So that goes back to your vision. Most people believe in a vision board. I don't believe in a vision board. I believe in a vision environment. If you came into my place right now, you would see pictures everywhere. Everywhere. Why? Because I've got to remind myself of where I'm going. I cannot live in my present situation. I've got to continuously live in my future. So every single day I'm working towards it. Well, what happens is when you lose sight of where it is that you're going and you start focusing on your present situation, now all your thoughts are geared towards what's not happening as opposed to what's going to happen. You become what you think about. I heard that Stranger Secret, Earl Nightingale. We become what you, and that floored me when I heard that. Because I said, is it really that simple? And then, Solomon, the richest man to ever live, he said, as a man thinking in his heart, so is he.
Right.
So I said, wait a minute. Okay, well, let me study where do thoughts come from? Because if I'm going to go down this path of continuously working, I'm led by my thoughts. Okay, well, where do thoughts come from? They come from my five senses. So every time I see something, it invokes a thought. Every time I hear something, it invokes a thought. So I said, okay, well, what if I put things around me that I want it to become? Then I wouldn't stop. Because now all my thoughts are geared towards what it is that I want versus what's going on in my present life right now. So it all goes back to that vision and that desire of what it is that you want out of your life.
And the way you set that up, was it primarily through the pictures, or did you do, I give an example. One of the things that I did, what your story is kind of reminding me a lot of stuff that I did as well, is I lived about 30 minutes or so away from a very prosperous neighborhood. And so what I used to do is I used to drive to that neighborhood, especially on the weekends, because they had the gated entry of one of these multi-million-dollar estates. And so on the weekends, they had open homes. And so I would drive up there and I would give my driver's license and I would say, yes, I want to take a look at some of the open homes. And I would go through that gate and I would get a chance to see all of these mansions, all of these estates, and some of them would be open where you can stop and go and take a look. And this is when I started to realize, wow, every single one of these homes, they have libraries. Some of these homes, most of them have theaters, movie theaters in their home. I had never even thought about that. And I said, man, it's possible to have a movie theater in your home? And then start giving me more things to put on my whole vision process of what it is I wanted to create for myself. And I used to just go there and I used to go shopping in that area just to buy some grapes even or something, just so I can be in that environment.
Absolutely.
So did you also do some of that, or was it just the pictures?
Oh, absolutely. You have to do that. I believe that before you get there, you must go there. And whatever it is that you experience in your life, you believe. See, because you experience walking in that home, because you experience driving over there, even though it may seem like it wasn't real, your belief system, your body, they don't know what's real and what's not. And you may say, well, David, explain that. Well, if you've ever had a dream where somebody was chasing you and you woke up right before they caught you, well, your body was sweating. Your heart was beating really, really fast, even though you were still in the comfort of your own bedroom. But your body had no way of knowing if it was real or not. So you experienced that dream. So when you experienced that dream home, I would go to the Bentley dealership all the time, sit in the car. And they would look at me like I was crazy because they saw what I pulled up in. So they didn't come and help me.
What did you pull up in?
A Malibu. The blue boo is what I called it.
Wow.
Pull up in that, and I would go sit in the car and just smell the leather. I would take pictures of it, the catalogs, and I would put them up everywhere, so I got a chance to see it every single day. Got a chance to experience it, even with the homes. My mentor lives in that same division that I actually just bought my home, so I would have to go there all the time and see his home, and that, guys, that's huge. And we're going to talk about that. We really talk about believing.
Right.
That is going to be key to your success is that you've got to experience this thing. You've got to experience what it feels like to be a multimillionaire before it happens. Because if you don't experience it, you'll never believe it.
Right.
Whatever you've experienced in your life, you believe.
So right now you're talking about conceiving it.
Yes.
It's like, how do you conceive this vision of what it is that you're going to live into? And then from conceiving, you really go to believing. How do you get yourself to believe it when it's not happening, when it's not working for you? And then from a believing, we want to take it to achieving. And, how do you actually achieve? And so those are some of the steps that I definitely want to make sure that we cover in the information that we're sharing with people. So the conception part, once again, it's just the giving birth of an idea or giving birth of a vision.
That environment.
And then the whole key to that is the environment. Place yourself in that environment of that which you already see yourself being in, so to speak, right?
Right.
And do it through the pictures, but also do it through physically putting yourself around, surrounding yourself with the things that you actually have in some of these pictures and so forth.
Absolutely.
Like going to the Bentley dealership and sitting there and so forth. Now, what if someone says, I don't know, that doesn't sound right because I know I'm not about to buy this Bentley and I'm going to be wasting the salesperson's time, or they may look at me kind of stupid, or, what do you say to someone who's having those type of thoughts?
What I would say to that person is that you're not believing. Because if you look at the words that are coming out of your mouth, life and death is in the power of the tongue. So when you say that I'm not going to be buying this Bentley, or I can't afford this Bentley, well, you just spoke that into existence. Something that's happening in your life right now, whether it's lack or whether it's poverty or whether your business is not moving, that means that situation is alive in your life. Well, it says life and death is in the power of your tongue. So that means that I can actually speak death to a certain situation. So if I have no money, I can speak death to that. If I have a lot of money, I can continue to speak life to that. Does that make sense?
Right.
So you can raise things up with your words. So, when you talk about, going to the dealership and saying to yourself, well, I don't know if I'll be able to purchase this, or, well, you just spoke that into yourself. So conceiving is when something goes inside of you. Well, your eye gate, your ear gate, these are all things going into your heart. So now watching your environment, remember people always say you're a product of your environment, the people that are around you, who I let speak into my life. I don't let everybody talk to me.
Right.
At all. Because now whatever you're saying is going into my heart. And as a man thinking in his heart, so is he. So I've got to be very careful who I let speak into my life, because that's going to be part of the conceiving. I need somebody to tell me, David, you're a multimillionaire. You need somebody to be telling you, yes, you can do it. You need those people around you. The people that don't believe in you, you need to delete. Delete their name, their number from your phone, because you're carrying that baggage around with you. And you have no idea, but they're actually pulling you down, because misery loves company. It loves it so much.
Now, that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of times people get started, and when they get started in the industry of networking especially, what happens, they end up talking to their friends and family, and a lot of times their friends and family are the first people that that's going to tell them that won't work, or why are you doing that, or you're wasting your money, or you're going to another one of those trainings and all this type of stuff. And so are you saying that they should just not talk to their family at all? I mean, what if someone has a mom that's completely disempowering? Should they not talk to do they have to completely disavow their family? I want to make sure there's some clarity there so people,
Well, I believe there should be a season of separation. I do believe that. I'm not saying, disown your family,
right,
or anything like that. But there has to be a season of separation. What I would do when I was living with my dad, when I would come home after prospecting all day or doing presentations all day, I would just go right to my room and I would have personal self-development playing. So even though, hey, Dad, how you doing? Talk with him for a little bit.
Good point.
But I went right up to my sanctuary, which is that room with my twin-size bed, and I had a little cassette player. And that's where I was listening to all the tapes and all the books on audio to fill my mind. So even when I heard the negative things that I was going to hear anyway, like, David, you need to go get a real job.
Right.
My dad used to tell me that all the time.
Right.
Even though he believed in me, but he was still, Dave, you need to go get it. You need to go back to school. That's what he used to say.
Okay.
And, but I would still have the positive energy going into my mind, because I didn't want anything to terminate that dream that I had, that goal that I had. And see, guys, what you've got to do is you got to make your goal so big that yesterday dies. You've got to surround yourself with people that celebrate your goals, that are encouraging you to accomplish your goals. And if you don't have those people around you right now, if you get involved in this industry of network marketing, they're going to encourage you, okay, especially upline. They're going to encourage you.
Exactly. Right? They got a vested interest in making sure. But that's why, you always hear, read this book or listen to this audio or come to this convention or this particular seminar, because a lot of people think, oh, what are you talking about? I already went to a convention. Why do I have to go to another one? I already read a book. Why do I have to read another one? I already listened to an audio. You want me to listen to another one? Come on. So are you saying that, well, I'm just going to let you say it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but why is it important for people to constantly saturate their consciousness with this type of information?
Repetitious information is really the only way that you're going to be able to drive doubt out. Because think about it, guys. Information in formation. So it goes in, it forms, and then Sean, it's action. The information that you're listening to every single day is going to form the actions that you take. So you must. It's paramount. Years and years and years of listening to books and tapes and audios and reading, those are all the things that you must do. If you don't have that, now what's happening is that you're listening to yourself. And that was one of the mistakes that I was making, is that I was listening to myself, but I had to finally realize that you're broke. So now you're getting advice from a broke person, as opposed to listening to the Earl Nightingales and the Napoleon Hills and the Holton Buggs and those people that had what it is that you want, that can now give you the information that you need, that can cause you to take the correct action that you need to take on a daily basis to be successful. One of the things that I learned was raising the bar, raising your beliefs, which will in turn raise your actions, which in turn will raise your results. But believing really takes place where you have the right words that you're speaking, you have the right images, but more importantly, you've got the right emotions. Those emotions have to be in check. And those emotions are the emotions of faith, the emotions of excitement, enthusiasm. Those things are very, very important to your success in this business.
So let's talk more about believing then. As you're bringing this up, you got some really good tips there. As far as believing, how does a person who, they're going through the motions as far as they're out there, they're talking to people, they got this vision, they're really excited about this vision, they're starting to do some of the things that they've been instructed to do in regards to how the business works and so forth. But a month goes by, 6 months goes by, a year goes by, 2 years goes by, they look at their organization, they're making $100 a month, $200 a month. Just doesn't seem like things are happening. They want it to happen, and I just know it's possible because there's other people that I see is happening for it, but I don't know. Maybe it's just something about me. Or how can they strengthen that belief? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, a couple of things. First thing is you got to know what impacts your belief. That's the very first thing. And then you also have to believe in believing.
That's a good one.
Most people don't. Most people don't believe in it. And, I think it's because maybe my background, both my parents are pastors. So a lot of the principles that we live by today are things that I learned when I was a little kid, hearing that all things are possible to those that believe. Well, all things, not small things, all things. All things include whatever it is that I can dream of, whatever it is that I conceive and think about. They're all possible if I believe. So let me learn what impacts my belief. And then I need to learn what grows my belief system. Okay? And then I need to know, how do I really know that I'm believing? Most people don't know that. Most people don't. What is the proof, so to speak? What's the proof that you have? Because people say, oh, I believe. David, I believe. Listen, look at me. I believe. And I'm just looking at them like, well, you don't have the paid off type of believing. So when you talk about what impacts your belief system, there are 4 specific things that impact your belief system. One is your environment. You've got to set your environment up for believing. You got to do that. You set the environment up with pictures, with words, things around you that you're seeing all the time. So index cards. I've got my own specialty index cards, Louis Vuitton index cards.
I saw an index.
You saw it
in your Bentley,
right? And it's got these words because see, in the beginning was the word,
right?
So every beginning, everything that I want to have, every Genesis must start with a set of words. So I write my words down, and it's all around me. So everywhere I turn, I have no choice but to see where it is that I'm going, what it is that I've written down. See, words are spirit, but once I write them down, now it becomes physical. So I just took something that's spiritual and put it in the physical.
Wow.
You've got to do that with this environment. Then you've got to have the right people around you. I would have never met you if I wasn't involved in this industry of network marketing. So the giants that I've gotten a chance to work with, the people that I've gotten a chance to work with, I would have never met them if I wasn't around the right people. Okay. And then you got to listen to the right information. So the information is going to be key to your belief system. And then the experiences that you give yourself. Most people only experience the past failures of their life. That's why they believe it so much.
Right.
They believe that they're failed. They believe that nobody's joining the business because they've experienced it. But what if you can take yourself out of that and start experiencing the things that you want? That's why it was so important for you to go to that home and experience what it felt like to be in that home. So now your belief system says, wow, it is possible for me to actually have that because I've experienced it. Now, what grows your believing is three things: the words that you're speaking, the images that you're looking at every single day, and the experiences, the emotions that you have. You've got to have the right emotions. I want to talk about that because most people don't understand how to get themselves in the right state at any point during the day. Something I learned from Tony Robbins is that you've got to be able to put yourself in the right state. There's something that you're going to have to do with your body, your physiology, that's going to allow you to get in the right state right away. It's going to cause you to take action. So I'm speaking the right words, I'm seeing the right things, but now I've got to now be congruent with my body to get me the right emotions that I need to go ahead and take action. But the paid off type of believing, where you know that you're believing, is P, you're patient.
Okay.
Most people don't have that. You've got to be patient through this process. A, you've got to be constantly in activity mode. You've got to be constantly taking action. I, you've got to stay inspired. That's where the information comes into play. You've got to stay inspired all the time. Listen to tapes all the time. Go to conventions all the time. All the time. But you got to wrap it around with expectation, though. Don't go to an event. Don't listen to a tape without expectation behind it. I expect that because I go to this event, this is what's going to come out of it. And then the D is to be dedicated and disciplined. I've got to be dedicated to the cause. I've got to be disciplined. And I believe that most people fail in this industry, though, Jerry, if we're really, really honest. They fail because they're lazy.
Wow.
And believing doesn't work if you're lazy.
So, I mean, I know we only got the paid of the paid off. I don't know if the off is another part.
The off is just
okay. So the off is just paid off. Okay, I like that. I like that. So this lazy business that you're talking about.
Right.
Now, are you suggesting? I mean, I want to hear a couple things here. Number one, are you suggesting that if they show up lazy, there's just no luck for them? They're out of luck. They're done, basically. Or are you suggesting that even if they are maybe lazy, and I want your definition of what you mean by that, that there are things that they can do to allow themselves to move forward, even though they may have not had the proper discipline to do what's required in the past, but they have that desire.
Right.
Tell us about that dynamic, because that's that's pretty interesting.
Is there any hope for somebody that's lazy? Well, if you're not willing to do the work that's necessary, I think it would be very disrespectful on your part to feel like you should have the results of somebody else that was willing to do the work. Everybody's going to have to pay a price.
Right.
And whether you pay the price today or tomorrow or next year, you're going to have to pay the price. So my belief system is that you can't make it in anything being lazy. Now, do you have to work yourself to the bone? No. But you have to be persistent and consistent with any form of activity. I teach people expose 2 people per day. Anybody can do that.
Right.
Anybody can expose 2 people per day. Well, if you do that 30 days in a month, that's 60 brand new people you just talked to. You take that out 90 days or 60 days, you got 120 new people that you talk to, 180 people in 90 days. If we only went 1 out of 10, you've now sponsored 18 people in 90 days. Cut that out in half, you sponsored 9 in 90 days. You can get some momentum sponsoring 9 people or 18 people in a 90-day span. So if you're lazy, it all goes back to really, what do you really want? Is your desire strong enough?
Right.
And that's why you must now expand your vision, expand your goals of what it is that you want out of life. So it causes you to take action. There's some things that you can do that would cause you not to be lazy anymore, but you've got to get up and go. You got to get up and go to that house and go to those cars and be around. Because, see, you'll be comfortable around people who are just like you. But if I'm a hungeonaire, I don't know if that's a word, and I'm hanging out with millionaires, I'm not comfortable. But if I stay in there, eventually I'm going to do whatever I have to do to be comfortable in that environment. I'm going to have to make sure that I become a millionaire too, so I can actually be in this environment. What most people do though is they say, no, I don't want to go there because I'm not comfortable there.
I better leave there.
Yeah, I better stay right here. And what you must remember is this, that your comfort zone, that is your broke zone.
Wow.
If you're comfortable where you are right now, I don't care if you're a multimillionaire. If you're comfortable, that is your broke zone. You have to stay on top. You have to continuously dream bigger, continuously want more. So now your comfort zone has changed. And most people don't do that, but they will after this audio.
That's interesting. So is that why you are still moving forward? You still have dreams and goals and aspirations, and you still have the index cards and so forth, and your Bentley, and you got all this. I mean, what more are you seeking? Do you have like an end result, or is it just keep going?
Well, I've got to continue to prove that believing works. I think we all have a responsibility to make sure that we prove that believing and hard work and all the things that are necessary, that they work. If I decide to stop, and say, well, I've made it, then that means that somebody else that may be in my predicament, or maybe was in my predicament 3 years ago, 4 years ago, they don't hear my story because I've stopped. Right. They don't see that it's possible to move from, and it's all relative. I mean, there are billionaires out there.
Oh yeah.
So they're looking at multimillionaires like, what's wrong? You need to come on with it. So it's all relative, and that's why it's an unlimited power, Jerry. It's an unlimited power that most people don't tap into. That's why I continue to go. That's why, because I know it's unlimited.
Right.
But more importantly, look about how many people are going to come along, that learn the information and implement it, and they become multimillionaires.
So you're setting an example for other people, or giving other people something to continue to strive and look up to. Just like your mentor, you were saying, Mr. Bugs, is continuously moving forward, and I mean, it's making an obscene amount of money there, which obscenity is very good in that case, but. But, he's still, he's not stopping. Right. I mean, he's still moving forward. And so do you feel that his example is something that encourages you as well?
Absolutely. Because, see, I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable around him because I'm like, okay, yeah, this is good. But guess what? There's another level you can go to.
Right.
But if he stayed where he was when I met him, then all I could see is, what I can see. But now that he's continuously gone to a whole nother level, and he's helped so many other people. I mean, so many other people. I mean, Edwin Haynes, you look at Edwin Haynes, where he was 3 years ago and where he's at today. You look at people like Jose Ardon. I mean, he's 28 years old, and this gentleman is making an obscene amount of money also. But they're constantly growing, and it's a natural. It's nothing that's forced. It's just you just love it. You love helping other people get to that next level. Because if I stay where I am, that means you can't get to where I am. I must move off of that spot, so now you can take that spot, or even surpass me.
Now, were you always thinking that way? Like when you didn't have the money, were you thinking, I'm going to get to this point and then I'm going to keep going? Or were you thinking, no, I'm going to get to this point and I'm going to stop. I'm going to be done.
Oh, no. I told Mr. Bugs one time, I said, listen, when I get to $30,000 per month, I'm done. It's over. Like, you're going to have to pop my head because my head is going to be so big. And then when I got there, I was like,
what am I going to do with this?
This is nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, you've got to keep moving forward. You got to keep moving forward. But that's after achieving. That's a challenge for people that have already made it. If you're listening to this audio right now and you're still in your process, you've got to understand that you got to be patient. Not only do you have to be patient, you have to have peace.
Okay.
The peace. Because think about it. You become what you think about. So if I'm frustrated, guess what? My thoughts, I'm becoming that. Whatever it is that I'm frustrated about, I'm bringing more of that into me. So I've got to have a peace, the peace that passes all understanding. Yeah, Jerry, I understand that my business is not moving fast enough, but I still have peace. I understand that people are not showing up, but I still have peace. I understand that, I'm not making millions of dollars, or I'm not making $100,000 a year, but I still have peace. I still have the faith. I'm still believing, and I'm continuously working towards, because there's somebody that I have to become to be able to attract that amount of income. So I'm not worried about the income. I'm now focused on who is it that I need to become.
Wow. And do you notice that you've become a different person per se? I mean, if you look back to where you were even just 2.5 or 3 years ago, and I know some people are listening to this audio and, you know, the 2.5 years may have been 10 years ago, you know, or 15 years ago.
Right.
And the type of money you're making is 7 figures a month, you know, instead of multiple 6 figures a month. But you know, when you look back at where you were just 2.5 years ago and you look at where you are now, do you like feel like I have become somebody different, or do you feel what do you feel?
I don't think I become somebody different because 2.5 years ago I was happy. 2.5 years ago I was excited. 4 years ago I was happy. I was excited. If you met me 4 or 5 years ago, you would have thought I was already a multimillionaire. I had always, for some reason, lived in my future. I never lived in my present. I always knew it was going to happen.
That's very interesting because if I would have met you 4 years ago, for example, when you were struggling in the industry, you weren't making any significant money in the industry, and you were driving around in your blue, what was it, a blue Malibu? Or something?
First of all, you would have never seen the Malibu.
Right, I would have never seen the Malibu.
Never seen it, no.
Because that's the question. The question is, you know, how would I have believe that you were already a multimillionaire? In what ways? How you dress, how you act, how you talk. I mean, tell us about that.
Your self-image, your self-portrait of who you are is important, because how you see yourself is how other people are going to see you. So because I had been, listening to Magic of Believing and using the mirror technique and telling myself, because see, you believe you more than anybody else.
Right.
So me telling myself that I was a multimillionaire, lying to myself, actually.
Wow.
So now when you met me, because see, if I came to do a presentation, at your home, I wouldn't park in front of your home. I would park a couple of houses down.
Okay, got it.
If we met at Starbucks, I would park like way in the back.
Right.
Way in the back. But I was always dressed appropriately.
Okay.
I was always dressed for success. I didn't have the custom clothing and all that good stuff. But guess what? I would buy it, and then I would get it tailored to fit me. So you looking at me, custom made shirts. I tell all my leaders, some of the folks that are not making money right now, go and get custom made shirts. Go and get them. Why? Because now when you're sitting down with a person and they see your name on your cuff, automatically they think, oh, he's got to be successful because he's got his name on his cuff. I don't know if that's true, but I believed it was true. So guess what?
And it's not from the dry cleaners.
No,
sticker.
right.
It's an actual custom engraving.
Yeah. It may not be custom, but just get them engraved in there. Get your name engraved. And all those things played a part because I saw myself, but then also I had real life people in front of me that had the custom clothing. So that environment, once again, I mean, some of the stuff seems redundant, but it's you've got to be around the right people. Because see, if I was around broke people, if I was around people that did not have what it is that I wanted, then I would have exactly what it is that they had, which is nothing. So making sure that you stay connected, whatever you're doing right now, you've got to stay connected with the leaders. You've got to be there at the weekly meetings. You've got to be at the events. So you're constantly seeing what the end result looks like. Because it may be difficult for you to have that self-image right now, because a lot of things may have happened in your life in the past that has caused you not to have the right self-image about yourself. But remember, the things that caused you to have the wrong self-image were things that you were listening to, were things that you were seeing. So the only way you're going to have to change it is, guess what? You're going to have to change the things that you're listening to. You have to change the things that you're seeing. You're gonna have to change the people around you. That's why I said the season of separation is so powerful. It's now I can hang out with family all day long,
right?
Because it's not gonna bother me as much anymore. Because what are they saying now? I'm so proud of you.
Interesting. I always knew you can do it.
I always knew. I knew you were gonna do it.
Right.
No,
I always knew
you were gonna do
it.
it.
Yeah. I was just playing with you before.
Right.
Now, can I get a loan?
Can I get a loan? Yes. And what do? You say yes. You can actually get some money, because I don't loan money, so you can actually get some money.
Yeah. So it's interesting. One thing you brought up, that's very interesting is that you were talking about you even told yourself lies. And one of the things that I talk about in one of my programs called Jerry Clark Live is I talk about the biggest belief that we believe, and the biggest belief that we believe are that lies are that lies are true, so to speak, or that beliefs are true, when beliefs are nothing more than lies. But the only problem is a lot of people believe in things that are not empowering, that's not going to allow them to move towards where they want to go. And that's a lie. I mean, believing that you can't do it is a lie, but also believing that you can do it to some extent is a lie. So the key is, if you're going to have to tell a lie, you might as well tell a lie that's going to assist you in moving forward instead of a lie that's not going to allow you to move forward. So is that kind of what you were thinking from that perspective?
I heard it from Shakespeare. He said, there's really, I forgot how he put it, there's no right or wrong, but thinking makes it so.
Right. That's pretty much what he said. Yeah.
There's no right or wrong,
but thinking makes it so. Yeah.
So was I right to believe that, I was going to become a I believed it. So that's what made it so.
Wow.
So you've got to tell yourself that auto-suggestion, you've got to tell yourself constantly over and over and over again. Even if you don't believe it today, keep telling yourself that. And that's why you talk about watching television. Television, they're telling your vision. You've now got to create that commercial that you're going to play over and over and over again in your mind of who it is you're going to become. Everything that has happened to me was something that I told myself. I told myself it was going to happen. And then I had people around me that could assist me in helping me actually attain those goals.
That's powerful. Now, what if people say, I know of the people who are producing the type of results I want to produce, but I'm so far away from that. And if I attempted to surround myself with them, what do I have to offer them? And do you think that they would want to kind of like, what are you doing here? Scat, get away. What would you say about people? Because, some people are a little self-conscious and feel like, I can surround myself with some of these people, but man, what do I have to contribute? Were you thinking that way, or how were you thinking when you were surrounding yourself with people that were producing results you wanted to produce, even though you weren't? Were they looking at you like, what are you doing here? Tell us about that.
Well, that goes back to that self-image. So they never looked at me like that because they only saw me through how I saw
like a
me.
reflection of what you saw.
Exactly.
Okay,
so for that person, it has nothing to do with that other person telling you to, get away.
Right.
It's really about you. Your self-image is not right because a winner can spot another winner. And what I look for,
no matter where they are, has nothing to do with money.
Nothing to do with
that.
Nothing to do with that. What it is you've got to put yourself in the situation where your leaders can actually see you performing. So, depending on what you're doing right now, you've got to put yourself in those leadership positions. Maybe you're doing the introduction. Maybe you're greeting people at the door. Whatever it is that you can do to let them know that, hey, listen, I'm here. Right. I'm available. And then also having a servant attitude about you. Wealthy people love that. They love people that serve, and that's going to be key to you making sure that you're around the right people. And it's going to happen. The law of attraction, you can actually write down, hey, I want to work with this person. Right. This person is going to mentor me. And it will happen.
Interesting.
Just think about how I met Mr. Bugs. It was just through some series of events that took place. And boom, I'm at his house.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. And, it's interesting because you're talking about, where if a person, and this is what I've noticed, if a person comes to me, for example, as my career, my 25-year career as of this point, 2012 is my 25th year in network marketing. So, but when a person came to me as I was, developing, generating tons of money, and they weren't generating really anything, but if they came to me with the proper attitude, in other words, it didn't have anything to do with their money. If they came to me from the perspective of they were willing to listen, and they actually implemented some of the things, because when I was there for them. It was amazing. I was so excited for them that, wow, they would go out and do something that I just shared. They actually did it. And then they come back. It's like, I want them around. This is really great. And I think it's the same thing that happened with some of the people that are my mentors is I would go to them and they would share some advice or some action steps or whatever. And I would take those action steps. And then they were like really excited to work with me more, to talk with me more. And so you got to be willing to actually, engage in some of the concepts and start taking some kind of action too, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you got the systems that are in place allow you to be able to work with the top leaders in your company because they're on all the conference calls. They're at all the trainings. But here's the deal. the same information that they're giving from stage on that conference call is going to be the same information they give it to you on a one-on-one basis. But you set the criteria in your mind that you need this one-on-one time. No, you don't. You need the information. Take the information, go apply it, have the success, and they'll be calling you. They'll look at their organization and they'll say, okay, this must be somebody that is taking the information that I'm giving on these conference calls or these trainings that I'm doing, and now they're implementing it. Now I can take them in and help them now understand and grow from where it is that they are, because you got to be respectful of that mentor's time too. It's really good. You just got to be, because I mean, if you had to mentor 30,000 people right now, it'd be impossible. So you can only mentor a few people, the ones that are taking the information, moving forward with it, really implementing it. So that's a decision that everybody's got to make, that, hey, listen, I'm going to take this information, I'm going to implement it, have the success. So this person says, you know what, you're worth me coaching.
That's really fascinating. So, before we move on, because I want to move on and get to some of the specifics that a lot of people want to hear in regards to how did you actually do it? I mean, give me some of the steps. We want to talk about that in just a little bit, but I want to kind of wrap up this conversation about conceiving and believing. And you've mentioned a lot of books, and whether you mention them directly or you kind of just shared information about them and so forth. For example, you did mention the magic of believing, and that's by Claude Bristol, right? And you made reference to Napoleon Hill material. You made reference to The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. You've made reference to Tony Robbins, Unlimited Power. So you've made reference to a lot of different materials. Can you share with the listeners what are some of the top books or training or audios or anything that really impacted you in a big way, that made a difference for you for where you were at the time?
You just mentioned some of them. I mean, another one was Jim Rohn, Building a Network Marketing Business. Yeah. I mean, I must have listened to that for a year straight.
Do you know who recorded that, by the way?
I think that was you. Okay, good. Yeah, that's awesome. I listened to that for about a year straight. If you put that audio on right now, I could actually spit it verbatim. Wow. For a year straight. That was big. That was huge for me. Also, Think and Grow Rich, obviously. That was big. The Cash Cow CD by Mr. Bugs, that was big for me too. Two audios that I would say really made the shift for me. And you mentioned them already. Okay. Magic of Believing.
Okay, Claude Bristol.
And Earl Nightingale, Strangest Secret.
Yeah.
Those are the two, because I remember sitting down at a leadership event that we were having, and I was kind of, I was sitting there, and I'd only been involved now for about 4 months, and we had about 50 people. It was just a private leadership event that we were doing, and I asked my mentor. I said, okay, well, you have the nice car, you have the nice home, you're successful. Why is it that nobody else is like you? And I was really asking, facetiously, really.
Right.
And his response really is what has completely put me down this path of where I am today. His response was, nobody believes the way I do. And I said to myself, that's it? You're telling me it's just this whole believing thing? Oh, okay. So now I started to study it. So everything that had anything to do with believing, I made sure I was listening to it. Wow. So when I saw Magic of Believing, and he talked about the mirror technique, he talked about the index cards, he talked about the power of suggestion, all those things started to implement the information. I never met Claude Bristol.
Right.
He's passed away.
Yeah.
So people that think, I need to be mentored by somebody. Yeah, mentorship is important, but the information that you can listen to can allow you to now attract that mentor.
Right.
The Strangest Secret, we become what we think about. Jerry, how simple.
Very, very simple.
And that's it.
But very powerful.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
So I become what I think about. Okay.
You got to ponder that, right?
You got to really meditate on that and say, okay, the person I am today, I've become that person based on my thoughts.
Right.
So if I wanted to change something in my life, whatever it is, all I had to do was just change my thoughts. Well, where do my thoughts come from? Talked about it earlier. It comes from my 5 senses. I believe it comes from God, and it comes from the enemy. Those are the 3 places that thoughts come from. So if I can control my 5 senses.
Okay.
Right? Because when I taste something, it invokes a thought. Oh, this tastes good. Oh, this does not taste good.
When you smell something,
When you smell something,
all that,
all those things.
touch something, right.
So now I'm like, okay, let me put things around me that I want to become. And that came from me listening to that. Now watch this. This is funny. I was listening to Kevin Trudeau. 25 Secrets of Wealth Creation.
Okay.
And in the very beginning, he talked about the magic of believing. He talked about the Stranger's Secret. I heard that back in 2006.
Was this before
This is before
you even read the books or listened to the audios? Okay.
I heard it,
Okay.
but I didn't hear it.
Got it.
Because I never went and got the audio. I never went and got Magic of Believing, the book. I never got all. I just heard it. But now, years later, after now being in the right environment,
Right.
actually being around somebody that was listening to it or had already heard it, and he said, hey, you need to check this out. Then I went back and listened to it. I'm like, wow. But then I went back and listened to the 25 Secrets of Wealth Creation. I'm like, man, this man told me what I should be listening to back in 2006. I didn't have to wait till 2009,
Right.
2010
Right.
to get this information if I was paying attention.
Wow.
See, I wasn't paying attention.
That's interesting. That is
25
interesting.
Secrets of Wealth Creation, he gave me the secret right there in the very beginning, the strangest secret. But I didn't go seek out the information. See, that's the thing for these folks right now. We're talking about all these books.
Right.
But
A lot of people just listen and maybe they won't go pick up, the magic of believing, for example. And what you're saying is that's a clue.
That's a clue.
Right.
Go pick it up. Read it. Now watch this, though. I listened to The Magic of Believing for at least 5 months straight.
Wow. Now, when you say 5 months straight, are you
I
talking
didn't listen
about
to any other audio.
Okay, so whenever you were in the car,
when I was
sleeping, you put in that audio, and that was
it.
it.
I was on the phone with you
for 5 months. Wow.
If I was on the phone with you doing a three-way call or whatever,
in the background,
I had not in the background.
Okay.
In my other ear,
whoa,
I had the phone to one ear, and I had Magic of Believing playing.
Wow.
In my other ear, just in case you said something that was wrong.
Oh, you were
Magic
getting programmed instantly. Just in case if they said that's a scam or that's a pyramid or
Magic of Believing was just negating that.
Wrong.
You've got to do it over and 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 over again. If you put Magic of Believing in right now, I could spit it verbatim. If you put The Strangest Secret in right now, I could spit it verbatim.
Wow.
You got to do it.
Oh, some really, really powerful programs. One of the things that really impressed me when we first talked on the phone is, it was very interesting because you instantly told me, well, not instantly, but throughout our conversation, 2 years or 2.5 years ago, where you were and then the type of results that you were producing. But another thing you mentioned is Jerry, I got all your audios in my MP3 player or something like that. And I've been listening and you say, I got all these other audios, hundreds of audios in your MP3 player of other people and everything else. And so do you just listen? You mentioned that you even play it at night when you're sleeping. I mean, tell us about that.
2008, it was Think and Win Big.
Oh, yes, that's right. With Johnny Wimbrey and Les Brown and myself.
Every day.
Yeah. Wow.
Every day.
Wow, that's amazing.
You that's the thing. It's when you find that information, when you find that audio that really speaks to you, you got to stay on it. You got to stay on it. And because it says you got to meditate day and night, day and night, day and night, day and night. So when you find that audio, you must do that. Have I listened to all those audios on my MP3? No, I haven't.
Hundreds and hundreds.
But once I found one that really spoke to me, that I believed in the information, then I stayed on it to master it. Because now it's gotten to the point where even the person that actually gave that audio or read that book or wrote the book, I probably know the information more than them.
Right.
Because remember, they're not listening to it every day.
Right. Exactly. That's true.
You probably only listen to that audio.
Hey, this it's interesting because, Les Brown came over the house, Johnny Wimbrey came over the house, and we were going to, get something to eat.
Some pizza.
And because you heard it on the audio, and I told my wife, I said, let's not give Les no food until I do an interview.
Right.
So we went to the recording studio at my house, and we actually just said, okay, so what do you want to talk about, right? And we talked about, let's talk about winning and thinking big and that type of thing. And that was it. That was the whole setup. And then we just started talking. Yeah, that's it. And people like you, picked up on it. And there's a bunch of other people who say, you know what, that one audio really made a huge difference.
I've got a training out. Somebody recorded it on YouTube, the win formula.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to be willing.
Uh-huh.
You got to take the initiative. Never quit.
Do I hear royalties?
Yeah. Okay. So I said,
awesome.
you got to do that, guys. It's rob and duplicate.
Yeah.
Rob and duplicate all the way to multimillionaire status.
Yeah, rob, duplicate, and also, of course, you have to put your own little twist in there.
Yeah,
of course, that's
absolutely.
the key, because we don't want to get anyone in trouble here thinking they can just go take any of my programs and duplicate it, because you know me. You buy this program, you guys. Don't
Use the information.
That's it.
Use it. Yeah, don't sell the information. Use the information.
Use the information.
There you go.
That's key. So, it's been a really great conversation here, just talking about the conceiving and believing, and talking about some of the books that really made an impact. And there's just a lot of really key information. What I want to do, and you tell me if you're ready to do this, there's a lot of people listening, and they want to know some specifics on how you did it. In other words, how do I build a network marketing organization? Of course, from a generic standpoint, but what are some tips? What are some keys? What are some processes? So that way I can go from conceiving, believing to achieving. Absolutely. So are you ready to go there?
Let's take a little break. And we'll come back and we'll go over some building tips, some real good stuff, the nitty-gritty stuff that you need to do to really make this thing work.
All right. So we'll see you guys on the next audio. Go, go, go.